right, clock rolls over, we'll call it to order. There it is, it rolled over. We call the meeting to order. Halfmoon Township Supervisors, please rise if you're able and for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Meeting's being recorded live on CNET's YouTube channel. Next up is public comments. Any comments from the public? Concerns? Not a lot of public. All right, moving on. Approval of the minutes. Copy of the minutes from July 13th, 2023, the regular supervisors meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, concerns, punctuation? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Consent agenda. Ratification of the bills list for $17,655.76 in general fund, $101,221.40 in open space fund. And this is for the period 7/22 to 8/04 would be $68,106.54 in the general fund and $668.20 in the open space. And the ratification of the bills list from 08/05/23 to 08/18/23, general fund $273,228.90. Highway liquid fuels fund in the amount of $166,756.59. And also to recognize Suicide Prevention Month of September and September 10th, Suicide and Prevention Awareness Day. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, next up, Resolution 2023-21, which has to do with revisions to the personnel policy. Do I hear a motion to forward with the personnel policy?
I move that we approve the resolution 2023-21 personnel policy.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-21 personnel policy is hereby approved. Next up, Resolution 2023-22 EMS funding formula update. Possible action on that.
I move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question.
Dave.
Oh,
Just a question.
yes, sir.
What's new with that? It looks like there's a change in the percentages.
Yeah,
From what was passed before?
Brett's not here tonight, but
Okay,
I'll just give you a brief rundown.
thank you.
We have revised numbers from Ferguson Township's participation, and Taylor Township was actually reduced, I think, to 61%, because they were listed as 100% on the
66.
original agreement.
That's 60-something.
Okay, 60-something, on the original agreement. Those numbers were wrong, so we factored in Ferguson on it. So we're just going to adopt, it's the same formula, including taxable properties and earned income and all that stuff. So, but we're changing. Ferguson should help pay. Their contributions actually should be substantial
It's a proper distribution.
between all the municipalities. Some of them don't change very much.
Well researched.
Yep.
I know this has been kind of unilateral as far as just an adoption here. Is this something that's going to be accepted by the other townships, or we don't really know? Just,
It's our resolution
okay.
on the percentages we're going to pay.
Well, Dave, can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think the change from the other one, I believe that there was clarification. We got a clear map with the actual coverage areas that wasn't, the information that we didn't have before. Because actually, our township, we were always under the assumption that we were 100% Port Matilda EMS. We are not. We are covered by Lifelink for a portion of the eastern end. And Ferguson has a bigger chunk than what we originally thought from Port Matilda EMS. So their coverages, and like he said, then Taylor is only 50%, and I think there was a few others. So the coverage areas were actually different than what we thought. So when somebody actually calls, who do they call first? And so if you factor that in, that we are not at 100% for Port Matilda EMS, so we're then probably going to turn around and we'll have to look at lifelink then too. So that was what was, where the main change was. It was looking at the county actual coverage.
So we'll
Yeah.
have to pay lifelink also for the
Well,
percentage.
I don't know if we went there yet, but that,
The board has not discussed that.
we are covered by them now.
But
We didn't know, nobody seemed to know who covered what.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, do we know, like, where is it that Center Lifelink actually does cover?
Yeah, there's that map.
There's a coverage
Is that
map for
linked
it.
to
It's
the-
not LinkedIn, but
Can you pull it up?
the portion, it would be,
I mean, will citizens be able to find out, like, if I'm in Center Lifelink, why am I paying?
it's a portion of this area here. So
Can you find
it's
out?
the
Yeah.
game lands.
Yes.
Oh, it's the
Where-
game land.
where
Yeah,
can I-
it's the game lands, and then there's, I forget, there's a road here that has some camps on.
So that's
Oh,
on,
but
that's
there's
on
not
the
actually-
Ferguson side.
There's not actually
Ferguson
full-time
side, it's not
residents
Halfmoon
that are covered by
No, I
lifelink?
believe there's some full-time, there's some camps, but I think there's two houses back there too.
There's some properties there.
Okay, but
Yeah.
not, but as far as, okay, but not significant.
Oh, so
population.
it's not down 550 this way.
No.
No.
It's,
Generally, we're Port Matilda.
Chiller.
It's not a big percentage, but it is a percentage.
Sure, okay. Thank you.
Anything else? We have a motion and a second.
One more question. Do we know where things are with Ferguson? Have they been taught, do they understand?
I understand the ambulance company has spoken with them.
Okay.
But I don't know what the answer is.
Because they stepping in really allows us to offset some in the other townships
Well-
because their percentage was,
I think, well, I mean, they haven't been paying anything for all these years, so.
Right. The MS board, which
gonna look
we
into it.
went to the meeting yesterday, discussed that. They did mention that they were talking to Ferguson about the part that they're responsible for, so.
okay.
I
That was
don't
brought
want
up
to get
in
in the
that
middle of
meeting
it because I don't know what those discussions are.
No, now that they have the board.
But the ambulance company is aware, and I think Ferguson's aware now. All right, call for the question. All those in favor of adopting the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2322, EMS being approved. Permission to advertise a nuisance ordinance. Anybody have any issues with that?
This would be for a public hearing at the September 14th meeting.
And the purpose of the update or the nuisance ordinance revision was to make it enforceable, correct?
They cleaned it up and made it actually enforceable, yes.
With fines and stuff, like to people that aren't,
Pardon?
with fines or whatever, like.
Yes, there
to-
is
that
a,
people don't,
yes,
like-
there's a process that is now in place that we can actually.
Proper
and-
definitions.
yes, and- Yes.
So it'll be a public hearing, you said?
Pardon?
There'll be a public hearing about that?
Yes, a public hearing on
September-
September 14th.
September.
You worked on that,
Who worked on it?
on the ordinance.
Lauren, Otto, solicitor.
I move to, approve permission to advertise a nuisance ordinance.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question for the advertising. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Advertising approved. Municipal building roof replacement plan approval, possible action.
Okay, so due to roof replacement quotes coming in very slowly, and being over the bidding threshold, really is gonna cause us to have issues getting it done this year, and we really have to get it done as soon as possible. Because it's obviously been leaking for quite some time. So, I looked into the materials needed to go ahead and replace it, looking at approximately $6,400 in materials. That's steel, screws, trim, needed, necessary, all that.
Extra purlins, I hope.
Well, so the next factor is, what I'm asking for is if we could earmark, $10 $10,000 of, which this is obviously Brett's portion here, but I'm going to assume deficit spend funds to go ahead with this project. And that buffer is extra purlins if needed, whatever we find when we peel it open, because unfortunately that's a little unknown at this point in time. So that is what I'm asking for that. That'll be completed in-house, and like I said, as soon as possible. If this is approved, I can get things ordered, here tomorrow or the beginning of the week, and probably be a couple weeks till
Not
we
to
get
be
materials.
fussy, but did you check with Center Region Code on that?
Yes, if we do a like, what they refer to as a like for like replacement, then it's just a very simple permitting process.
Okay.
Somewhere.
I don't want our own code office coming out giving us grief.
Yeah, correct. No, I spoke to Mr. Warner about it, and I believe it was about an $80. It's a low cost,
Okay.
but it doesn't require, a bunch of drawings or anything. If we stick with a like for like replacement, so we can't go doing a bunch of modifications, but that's fine. We're not planning on that.
Then it's essentially a repair.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's a replacement, but
Yeah,
it's,
I mean, literally all we're doing is pulling off what's up there, replacing it with a heavier material.
Going 26
And-
gauge instead
Yep,
of 29.
Yep, 26 gauge with the commercial rib, just provides a little more strength and doesn't cause the pulling of the screws.
And hopefully whoever's in charge of whenever doesn't put a bunch of silicone on those rubber gaskets. It eats
Correct.
up the screws.
Yep.
do you think 10,000 is going to be enough?
I believe so, yeah, because like I said, the materials I was getting back, somewhere 64 to, maybe 6,500. So that should.
Is that delivered or we go get it?
I'll go pick it up. I mean, it was just in Phillipsburg, so we'll save that cost now that we have, equipment at our disposal.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the allocation of up to 10,000 for roof material and replacement?
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board?
And that's for $10,000,
Up to
right?
10,000.
Up to 10, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 2023 road improvement project change order approvals.
All right, so back to me again.
Up to you.
Really, all this is doing is this was under advice from our legal counsel, just to make sure that any future issues with any auditors are taken care of. And basically what had happened was all of our road projects came in slightly overbid. And that was due to, there were some places they were, under quantity and some places a little bit over quantity. And really just, and it may be refilling the crown of the road, things like that. It was unforeseen circumstances. So really it's just, there were change orders, written for each option, and this is just to approve that process and release the money. So that, and all the quantities and everything went out in the packets, but I have those if there's any question on
Sure.
it, so.
What was the net overage over the bids?
That's probably one I don't currently have. Let's see. I have them all broken down. Yeah, so the biggest overage we had was $4,168.79. That was option 354. So that was on Toe Hill, and that was in fact, there was no crown left in the road. So that was our most overages on material. And then where, so down to 344, which is the Lutz Lane project, that was $777. So, I mean, we're looking at, I believe, a total of $6,000 to $7,000. So it's not over the vast quantity of jobs that we had. It's a very minimal overage on these.
Okay, so that's a net overage, or were there underages too, or were there lower amounts?
There were some underages.
So does it average out to 1,200 and something, 1,270 something?
No, it averages out to approximately, like I said, somewhere at 7,000.
So it's 7,000, okay.
Me trying to do quick math in my head's not a
Well,
not a
that's
strong
okay.
suit for me. So
Well, the total value of these projects, the bid cost was, what was that total?
About 400, right around 400,000.
So,
Yeah, so it's a very small percentage
like
of the
1.5%,
overall price. Yeah, it's definitely small. I know,
which is within.
both of
the
our
range.
engineers,
Yep. It's within the margin of error, really.
yeah, I mean, they kind of chuckled at why we were even pushing this, but, you know, and that's, Brett is very good at making sure everything is square, and I appreciate that, so. Like I said, there was no issues on the work that was done. The work was done very well, and it's just a matter of, you know, making sure that everything is taken care
You're
of
okay
on the
with the
end.
change orders?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, yep. Very happy with how everything turned out.
I move to approve the change order payments.
Do I hear a
Or
second?
change orders.
Second.
Moving second. Any other discussion by the board? Call for the question. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Fire protection contract or resolutions. And, we just go down through there. We'll start with Port Matilda Fire Company. We currently have a contact or a contract. Ron, you're on the committee. Do you want to enlighten us on that a little bit, or?
Well, we have a contract that, with Port Matilda, it's expired. It was a 1-year contract, it's expired. It keeps going unless we choose to either change it or end it. That, we really haven't had that discussion, except I believe where I think most of us want to be is to end the contract. Since we're proposing a formula, let me explain. We're proposing a formula for distribution, just like we did with EMS. We're doing this with the fire companies. That's, we know what that is. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is when we set the amount of money in the budget for the year, that is a contract. That, once we set that budget amount and it's approved, that's what they're going to get for that year. You know, basically, that is a contract for an entire year. Okay, now, are there any contingencies? Are there any, you know, if we have discretionary funds or whatever, you know, if something comes up, can we allocate money, additional money? Yes, we can. That goes without saying. That doesn't require a contract to do that. That requires knowing, first of all, that there is an issue. And we have to, obviously, they have to report to us on how they spend the money that's budgeted to them. We have to keep track of it. And, you know, so there has to be dialogue. And if there is an issue, then it has to be addressed. And it's addressed by them coming to tell us that there's an issue, and then what we seek resolution to the issue, or what the solution is. But the solutions to an issue with the fire company is the responsibility of both the fire company and all 5 municipalities. So it's not a one
Except for,
municipality.
we're talking about adding Alpha, support for Alpha on it.
Well, that's another, that is
I know it's
further
number
down
3,
here,
but-
okay? Yes, but you're right. Like, as in the case of Center Lifelink, regarding EMS, we have Alpha coverage for us as well. So we have to give consideration to them as well. And that's what this Part C proposed formula does, is it includes Alpha. So you have 3 formulas here. Actually, I think it's really 1 formula, is it not? But all 3 companies are included. And then it distributes it among the municipalities covered based on coverage area and other factors, just like the EMS. And the weighting factors are included in the formula. There's a lot of weighting factors. And you know, I got to say, Brett put this stuff together, did the research, talked to the municipalities, looked at the coverage maps, got the assessment values for property, and included all the necessary factors, weighting factors, in order to arrive at a proper distribution. And that's how that's how it was created. So I'm very confident in it, that it is going to do, you know, what it needs to do. Sure.
So this is a proposal that's kind of in Halfmoon Township, aren't you kind of like really dictating in some ways what other townships think of it? I mean, what if they don't say, no, I don't like that? Then,
Well, we're not-
then you're committed to something? You're committing to a certain percentage?
We're not beholden to the other municipalities. We're independent governments.
But
Okay,
there-
we have to determine how much
I
is
understand.
proper for us to pay. We have to make sure we pay it. But the other municipalities also have that same responsibility.
Right.
And whatever that is, that's what it is.
So are you working collectively in the COG
We're-
to determine these things, or are you just kind of doing it all on your own?
We're developing our own distribution formula.
And you're adopting
And
a
we're-
thing that's gonna be this much, and this is what you're gonna get next year?
Yep.
Doesn't matter what the budget comes in at, when they propose their budget or their needs?
It's a percentage of the budget, yes.
Okay, percentage of the
It's a
budget.
percentage of the budget that we, they'll bring a budget here.
Right,
We'll
okay.
negotiate that budget.
Right.
We'll have to look at it and say, okay, we agree or we don't agree. If we agree with it and we arrive at a number, that number, we will apply our percentage to that. And the other municipalities will have to do the same.
They will have to
And they
do
will
the
have to,
same.
yep, they will have to determine the amount of money they need to spend based on that formula.
So you
Okay,
are,
it's not a matter of, well, we don't want to spend, we're gonna spend X dollars, we're gonna spend X dollars. Half Moon Township, whatever percentage is left is your percentage. We're not gonna do that anymore. We're not gonna do that. We are giving a proper distribution based on coverage area, based on population, based on assessed values, and so those are the weighting factors, and there's more, I think, in that formula, actually.
so basically you are making up the formula for everybody though, in a way, right? For all
Sure.
the townships.
Well, we're basing it on the fact,
on
the
that,
factual
As long,
information.
yeah.
Right.
From all
Let's say based on,
municipalities.
let's say you want to
But
base
we
it on
can't,
something
we
different.
can't do that and say,
Okay.
well, you know,
I
if
totally
that's
agree with
okay
that,
with
but I just
you.
wonder what,
Yeah.
what,
But that's the,
I mean,
that is the
you're using the
distribution
right
right there.
factors, I think. I totally agree with that. But
Yeah.
I just wonder, what some other townships say, well, I don't
But there
like
was
that.
really no logical
No,
formula or
No,
process for determining how much should each municipality
I
pay.
agree.
So,
Okay.
we've discussed this at the meetings as
Okay,
well.
all right.
That's what,
Okay, but we've discussed this internally to try to arrive, okay, first of all, who does what? Who covers what? You know, we have 2 fire companies covering Half Moon Township.
Don't we have 3? Don't we have Where's Mark too?
Warriors Mark and Port Matilda are our primary coverages.
And then
I
Alpha.
don't know if,
Alpha.
do they cover that same percentage? Okay, so we've changed the distribution to include them. That means when we do that, they also get a portion of funding, which they should have been getting all
Yeah.
along, if you think about
Yeah.
it. Because they've often been the first responders. The same way with Center Lake.
Sure.
So you got to do something to make sure that they're compensated for what they provide.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to do across the board.
On their formula, did it say 0% though for alpha?
I don't know what it said. That's the other,
That's what I saw.
that's the third one.
That's what I didn't quite understand why it's 0. Percent of total, 0.
Yeah, it just came to an average.
No, it's average 1%.
Oh, 1%, okay.
we're not much,
Okay.
but we still have coverage and they're due funds.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But see, that's the distribution when you add alpha into the formula. And then when you add alpha, you have to consider the other municipalities that alpha covers. So it's a complicated thing, but Brett worked it out and did a lot of work on this, and I'm confident in his numbers. So I
Thank you.
think others on the board have looked at them as well,
Thank you.
I'm sure.
So we're talking about, do we want to go by resolution rather than an ordinance or a contract?
I think resolution on the formulas is the way to go. So we should be.
So if you approve wanting to do resolutions, what Brett will do then is go ahead and draft the resolutions to bring back to the board for approval.
Now, it gets a little complicated, I think, with Warriors Mark because they had a multi-year contract. And I
Yeah,
think
their
that runs
contract is
through
not
next
up
year
yet.
as well.
Correct,
So we
it's
still
not
have to
up yet.
honor that contract regardless of our distribution formula.
Mhm.
Because that's set amounts, based on other factors. So we have to honor that, and we will. We can't, but contracts are a difficult thing to manage.
question?
Yes.
Have you talked to each of the fire companies in terms of the movement from contract, for those that we've had a contract with,
We have.
to resolution?
I know Brett has. I know Brett has for sure.
And they're fine with,
I don't
Like-
I know
know.
Brett has talked to Port and Soda, and they are fine with that. I'm not 100% sure about where it's going. I know he's talked to Brian, but I don't know the conversation.
But we still have a contract with them, so
right.
We do, yes.
we're gonna take care of our fire companies no matter what.
And like I said, this is a projection, this is a formula, it's based on the budgets proposed. Budgets are based on everything you can expect to happen. You have contingencies factored in, you have capital reserve factored in, you have all those different things that they need. And so you do the best you can to fund that, and then if something happens that nobody anticipated, something happens that isn't covered, then we have to sit down as a group and figure out, well, what are we gonna do about that?
Yeah.
And how are we gonna fund that, if it is, in fact, a funding issue with us? But it's with Port Matilda, it's a funding issue with 5 municipalities. With Warriors Mark, it may be a funding, it was probably Franklin,
Where's
Warriors Mark,
Halfmoon.
and Half Moon. So
I don't
three-
know if they cover a little bit of Spruce Creek, but they might.
Yeah, so that's a different thing. So anyway, but things can and will happen. So, and they have to get addressed. But we have to start somewhere. And we have to start with a uniform approach to budgeting. Otherwise, we're all over the place and nobody knows for sure what's gonna happen. So the better, the more streamlined the process, the easier it is to cover contingency, to cover all the needs in that one budget. And it shouldn't be more complicated. But the more accurate the budget is and the more inclusive it is, the more likelihood there is of success. So that's where we're trying to get to. And not have an arbitrary approach to, okay, well, what do you need this time?
Yeah.
It's like, let's get it all in there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about everything needed. That's how you do a budget. Anyway, I think the resolution's the way to go.
Do I have a motion to go with resolutions? Or does somebody else like to add?
Well, so moved.
Wait, Patty, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to state, and it goes along with, that we're still, if we need to make a donation or change, or if something comes up, this is just like using the formula, and hopefully we can talk to the other townships involved and they will follow it, because I know at Center Region Cog it's different. You have to follow the formula across the board, and it makes things simpler and more streamlined. But I did notice that it does drastically reduce what we're going to be paying to Warriors Mark. So hopefully that won't be an issue, or if we choose to donate more there if we have to. And hopefully, because the other thing too is we used to also pay for capital things, and according to Ron now, if they factor those into their budget and also capital reserves, that would be good, because we used to, like, if they had a wish list and if they had capital items they needed to purchase, we would give an addition for the capital items in addition to what we were paying for the fire protection.
Yeah, I
So
think
is that
they're
going to be more
Coming in,
factored?
what, at the
You're
September
right.
meeting?
You're right.
Okay, because we want to make sure that they can get their capital improvements and their gear and everything that they need,
Right.
and also be putting some back for equipment purchases.
Capital reserve. And it's actually been a struggle
Yeah,
to help them define
Building, yeah.
what capital actually is. You would be surprised. Okay, a pair of socks is not capital. The other thing I wanted to say was, in terms of sources of funding, the municipalities and their fundraisers and the memberships, or what do we call the letters they send out, and you fill in your thing and send your check
Donation
in.
drives and stuff.
Fund drives, or whatever you want to call that, those aren't the only sources of income. There's grants, but there's also the Firemen's Relief Association. And we need to get our arms around that, okay? Because that's a significant funding source. And under the law, there's a laundry list of things that they are supposed to be paying for. Now, I think that's starting, I think it's starting to get better. There's a lot of focus on it. The amount of money, the role for the Port Matilda Fire Relief Association, I don't know anything about Warriors Mark, but the Port Matilda Fire Relief Association, they're allowed to allocate for, in terms of their annual income, what they get from the state. They're allowed to allocate 81% of that amount. Okay, now, I don't know that for a fact, so I've been meaning to talk to the Auditor General's office just to find out what this law actually means. What, is there a percentage that they, you know, or can they actually allocate more money? Because I know one thing for sure, the Port Matilda Fire Relief Association is accumulating money. They've got probably $250,000 at this point and growing. Some of it's in CDs. What I don't understand is, and they say that's for contingency, like major capital replacement, but if that's the case, then what happened with the fire truck? Okay, so the question is, what is the criteria? I'd like to find that out. So, and so that takes more investigation, more phone calls and things, which I plan to do. But the thing is, that is a significant source of income. So we need to factor that into the budget, and then we need to be able to pursue it.
Well, right, they have to release it. If they don't release it, it doesn't do the fire company any good if they don't get the money.
Well, that's been the problem. They've been
Right, I
sitting on
know.
it.
If they,
I'm glad
but
that-
we need to get to where they submit, the fire company submits a legitimate request, and the Fire Relief Association allocates the money.
Right.
And there shouldn't be any encumbrances to doing that, provided it's done properly
Right.
within the law. We need to find out, because I don't know what the fire company does when they put in a request. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the issues are with the Fire Relief Association. It'd be nice to sit down with both of them and find out what the issue is.
So I know that Alpha gets money regularly from the fire relief. I've seen it in their budgets. So
Yeah,
it
they
seems to
have
be a
their own
regular-
Fire Relief Association, and I think that works a lot better than the one over here in Port Matilda.
Yeah, I know they have a hard time communicating with them,
They do.
you know.
So we need to get to the bottom of what is the issue there and try to help with that. But that's difficult to do because we don't have like direct authority with regard to the Firemen's Relief
Yeah,
Association.
Do they have open meetings?
They do have
Yeah,
public
you can
meetings
go.
when they choose to have them. Now, I want to say one other thing.
Yeah.
They just came up with a new constitution or bylaws, okay? And I saw that
I know.
and
Garbage.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, I want to find out, because that was a deficiency in the audit report. And I want to find out from the Auditor General's office, are they going to follow up with that? To
Yeah.
see what, are they going
It's
to get a
full of
copy
holes.
and take a look at it and
It's
see?
full of
if-
holes, yeah.
Right, so there's a process there that isn't even being followed.
Yep.
Where does the money come from that goes to the Firemen's Relief Association? Where does that funding come from?
The state.
State.
Got from the insurance company.
Foreign fire insurance, I think it's like a reimbursement for insurance that the state
Well,
gets.
when you buy your fire insurance, that money's part of it's collected by the state and then allocated out for fireman's relief.
And I assume there's a funding formula then in terms of how it gets
Yeah,
distributed across the
Yeah, but
state?
the state controls all that stuff, and then it's based on fire service area and all that.
And I'd kind of like to find out what that is.
So it's all from insurance companies?
That's
It's
my
all from
understanding.
insurance money, yeah. It's not
Insurance money.
direct tax money.
Right.
And it's passed through the municipalities to the Firemen's Relief Association. We have to pass it through. We don't like
We don't get to
control
keep it. We're
We
happy
don't-
to
Oh,
forward
it comes to here first and then we send it on to the
turn it over to the
association?
Relief Association, we've got so many days to do that.
without too much delay.
Yeah,
Now, other municipalities have tried to stop that,
yeah.
hold it, and they were told, you can't do that.
And
Release
is it generally consistent from year to year?
You mean in
Pretty
terms of amounts?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same from
Probably.
year to year,
It goes up every year, but it doesn't, you know.
but
It's-
fairly
It's,
consistent.
Yeah.
it's a mess.
Just, who are they? I mean, the fire.
Fire Relief Association?
Is that a group, is that a small group?
It's a
or-
board.
It's a board and it's
Yeah.
mainly of people from all around. the-
Rudy and Rudy and Rudy and Rudy.
No, they have to be, they're required by law, and this is another issue. They're required to be, by law, to be members of the fire company in good standing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's members of the
Oh,
fire.
they
There
are
are some
members.
issues there too.
Kind of a subcommittee of the fire company,
Huh.
which it ought to work good, but
What, yeah, that should work better.
What I can't figure out is who appoints them, who elects them,
Right,
Yeah.
because if you read their bylaws, they elect themselves.
yeah,
And I can't agree with that.
yeah.
So if they're a member of their own fire company, but unwilling to release the money to their own fire company, right? That's what I'm hearing?
yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've observed in the past,
No.
what is it, a year
We need
and a half or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to knock on them too much at this point because we don't have all the facts.
Sure.
And that's the thing, we gotta go, I went to one meeting, and it wasn't a pleasant experience, I gotta tell you, it was not pleasant. I'd like to go again, but I think they've canceled 2 meetings. I think they have them monthly, but they're not announced, you have to go find out, if you can, when they are.
Yeah.
They're public meetings though, and anybody can attend.
So does each individual fire company have their own release?
Yes,
Headquarters,
yes.
Mark has one, like,
Every one
I
of
know
them.
Alpha does, but I didn't know if there was regional, so there's not regional, it's individual fire company.
Right.
Interesting.
It's bizarre.
We split our release money between, I assume, Warriors Mark and Port Matilda Fire Company.
And is that amount that you split
We
dictated by
can
the
control the
state?
split,
You can control the split, okay.
Can we?
yes.
Yes.
We
Okay.
can control the split, but we can't control how the money's, once it's turned over,
Right.
it's under their
Did
control.
we do it on percentage of previous allocations?
We based on the percentage of what we perceived before as
The coverage areas.
We get though money only for Port Matilda and Warriors Mark, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
We want to go with the resolution?
I do. I move that we go with resolutions.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the only other thing before we leave the fire contracts, and I just wanted to mention that the Port Matilda Fire Company has, what, 11 employed
EMS.
EMS right now?
EMS has.
And they have missed, or they have gone to almost 100% of the calls. I think they said the one they missed was one they were already out on another call. So the new board, the operation, they're just doing a fantastic job. I have every confidence in what they're doing. It just seems, it's so much better, so much better. So, it's a good thing, but I figured I'd throw that out there. But, all right. Next up, township reports.
Can I just throw something out on that same topic?
Please do.
Still looking, I've been managing the van service for that, and we had a significant number of drivers, but we've lost a couple recently for job applications and things. So I'm looking for a couple more volunteer van drivers, so just for the record, and
So if
if anybody's
anybody-
interested.
Anybody knows anybody that wants to
Yes,
be a
send them
volunteer
my
van
way.
driver, that would be fantastic.
So wait, is it out and running? Is it?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, they've been doing.
We did 2 last week, and, got a couple, one next week, and, yeah, so we've been doing, we've been bringing, I think for July, June, July, I think we brought in, around, can't say for sure, but I know $2,700 comes in.
I
to
think
line
they
or
mentioned
something.
3,000 last
Yeah,
night.
right, exactly, yeah,
Nice.
It's lucrative.
yeah.
And hopefully that'll be up and running.
Thanks to Karen.
All we need is
Karen,
drivers.
we're taking a couple of long
If you have
trips.
drivers, it would really help.
It could
yes.
really help,
Yeah.
yeah.
Alrighty, okay, township reports. Treasurer is not available this evening. Brett, or Chuck, did you have anything from Public Works?
Yeah, just a couple things, kind of questions I had looped into my report. So one of the thing is, I refer to it as the blinking light, but the left turns and cross traffic sign and lights at the intersection of Ira and Route 550 have been inoperative here for a few weeks, month, whatever it is. It's a fairly minimal repair, some wiring and kind of replace some of the conduit on it. But in that time frame, I've had a number of residents ask, basically, why are they there? Are they doing anything? And of that nature, which I can't necessarily answer. due to the traffic going through the village and stuff. So my question tonight is just at least get the ball rolling to the board to see where you guys think we should go with this. If we should just simply repair it at this point, leave it be and move on, or look into other options of, some
Traffic
speed
control.
control. I truly don't know if there's any answer to this.
Is there something we're required to have there, or could we just have nothing?
Was
We
there any,
don't have to have anything.
There wasn't a circumstance that required us to put those.
It was, if I understand correctly, in the past, there was an incident that occurred inside the village, and these were put up after that, which
Right.
was a little before my time, but,
I can,
yeah, so,
I can give you the rundown on it, but I don't wanna do it on television, because I
Okay.
don't wanna upset anybody.
Yeah, it's
well,
not a good thing. to
I would
discuss.
suggest, it's just my opinion, that it's a small cost to repair it. We could just repair it and then come back and discuss what is a longer-term better solution to traffic, to speed
Right,
control
right.
devices for the village, okay?
yeah. And that's an option,
Just
I didn't wanna go ahead and just repair it and spend, cause it's probably, it's minimal, it's $200 or $300 most likely. But then if we're just spending money on something that we're gonna end up, just.
I think at
ignoring
night,
some point,
it brings
but
awareness to, there's something up ahead.
It does.
That in the daytime, you're not gonna pick anything up by it, but, I personally feel okay with repairing the lights and keep moving with them.
Karen, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, we don't own we're not in control of 550, that's state, right?
That's
So-
correct.
If is there any way that we can get speed bumps that,
They're not gonna allow.
Not
speed
on a
bump
state highway.
on a State highway,
Yeah.
major thoroughfare, that's not gonna happen. Because we can't even plow 550, even if it's at a snowstorm, we don't even have the right to put our plows down on that road. So it's in our township, but we have no control over it.
Right. So do we have the lights because it's our village,
Um,
even
Yeah.
though it's on the
It
state
was-
road?
It was a
Yeah.
request to PennDOT. So what we can do as a township, if my understanding is correctly, we can request things be installed like that. Now, it's our responsibility to maintain them.
That's, okay, that's
which is
that's where it comes
this
my
all
question.
comes
Yeah,
back.
okay.
And truthfully, so there was an issue that occurred over the winter, and I wasn't sure whose responsibility it was, and I finally got that answer, so I went out and got them fixed, and then if some other things happened with it. So it is definitely our responsibility to take care of at this point in time, so now it's just a matter of, like I said, I didn't wanna just go out and repair it on my own. Since I have been getting some questions, I just wanted to throw it to the board and just see what everybody's opinion is. Like I said, I don't think there's a magic answer to slow people down on Route 550. I had the opportunity to talk to a trooper recently and requested again some more presence out here, but,
So this was
if
just
we-
basically make awareness of that turn. It really didn't say about speed. It was just to know that there was a road that they're gonna be
It's,
turning.
so
there.
really the signs just indicate that there's turning and cross traffic in the village. The people are gonna stop and be making left-hand turns,
Mhm.
things like that.
And
It's-
like municipal lane's one of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of spots in there that's, horse side distance and stuff, so.
Well, do I hear a motion to repair the lights?
I'll move to repair the lights.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moving second, and any other discussion by the board? Call for the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay.
Got your answer.
Sounds good. I will
Just-
get that on my list. The only other question I had was, there was just some staff discussion recently. We're discussing things in the park and some safety matters and stuff. And we were discussing the large pine tree that's kind of in the middle of the parking lot. And just, we were talking about the fact that the roots are coming up and starting to cause trip hazards. And how long is this tree gonna stand there alive and not fall on who knows what around here? So there again, just to kind of see what the board's opinion on is if it's something that we would look into getting it removed, or at this point in time, leave it stand. So that was, like I said, it was just a staff discussion that, figured it was something that needs to be talked about at least. And there again, if it's something you guys wanna think about and we revisit later time, that's no problem.
Would you be able to get us a written estimate on what it would cost to remove that tree?
Yep, yep,
If you want to bring that back to the next meeting, and then we can
absolutely.
see if we want to do
Yeah,
that.
it should be, because I had the guy in here looking at the stumps to grind stumps around the park, and it should be approximately $2,600. But I'll get a written estimate and come back. So in the meantime, then everybody can look at it and
I
decide.
do too, but I don't know how long it's going to hold.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shame of it is I don't know. I mean, it could stand there a long time, or it could fall in at any point. So it just seems like the roots keep getting a little higher and higher, and I'm not sure how deep they truly go.
The soil is very shallow here. and
It is.
Unfortunately, the roots are all up on the surface, and eventually that thing.
They don't need to go very far for water in here, I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Is there anything we could do to, improve the health of the tree, or does
That I'm
that
not
make
sure,
sense?
but
I
I can
mean,
definitely.
if it's intruding, or if it's causing a potential safety hazard with parking, then that's something to consider. It's a beautiful tree, but
Yeah, it's a shame because we don't have very nice
Sometime,
trees out here at the moment, which is something else that, right. It's something that is coming as we get some more things done in the park. Because there's some more trees that do unfortunately need removed. There's some dead spots in them that could cause.
I think we need to take it under advisement and decide what we want to do,
Okay, I'll come back
what
with
we
more
need to
information.
do.
Anything else, Chuck?
That's all I had.
Amy, you have anything to add? Okay. Moving on, authority boards and committee reports are online. If somebody has some issue. Do we have any diversity, equity, and inclusion this evening? Virginia's not on? Okay. All right, if anybody has anything else, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Moving second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7:47 adjourned.